Well, first of all, a joint operation is underway this morning involving officials, Gardaí, Dublin City Council, HSE, OPW, in terms of ensuring the safe movement of people who are seeking asylum from the tents on Mount Street to IPAS accommodation. Crooksling accommodation has the necessary facilities, toilets, showers, health services, indoor areas where food is provided, facilities to charge phones and personal devices, access to transport to and from Dublin City Centre, and 24-hour on-site security. And some will also be accommodated at City West. The tents on Mount Street are not acceptable, and not acceptable for migrants, not acceptable for residents living in the area either. It's very important that we do this properly. And I think there's our objective is to make sure that we continue to provide accommodation of this kind and further accommodation, as well as then for seeking asylum, but as well as also faster processing of those seeking asylum, particularly from designated safe countries and from those with the highest number coming in, as we're doing in respect of Nigeria. And that does mean a faster processing of asylum seekers, and also a firmer approach to it. So that is where we are now. The state has within its powers the capacity to make sure that we don't have tents back up on Mount Street or in streets. And in our view, and the government is very clear, we cannot have tents in streets adjacent to neighbourhoods and so forth. It's not good for those seeking asylum. It's not good for residents in the area, and it creates a lot of tensions and so on, which are not acceptable. And there is a determination on the government side to use our capacity and powers to make sure that it doesn't occur. We have a very significant increase in the number of asylum seekers coming into the country, way above anything ever experienced before in terms of the numbers. It's a five-fold increase on what one was experiencing in 2019 before COVID. The figures this year suggest almost a doubling on the same period of last year. So there are pressures on accommodation, and there's going to be different forms of accommodation. And one such form of accommodation will be tented accommodation of the kind that has been provided in Crooksling. There's a broader, this is not just Ireland, it's happening all over Europe, it's happening all over the world. And I've articulated consistently the need for, at a global level, to stop the terrible wars that's leading to displacement of millions of people, which is the fundamental factor influencing the very high level of global migration that's underway at the moment, because of the terrible wars that are going on in Sudan, in the Middle East, in Ukraine, and in areas like the Sahel and Africa and so forth.